This video is sponsored by Friendly TV. With over 40 channels, many of them showing your favorite classic TV shows, Friendly TV is the low-cost streaming service for those of us who remember when television was truly special. I've added a link to Friendly TV in the description section of this video. When you use it to try it out free for 7 days, you will also be supporting this channel. Pop culture historian Dave Sundstrom here, and today I'm going to take a look back at the replacement blondes of Three's Company. I'm talking about Jenilee Harrison and Priscilla Barnes, who both in their own way replaced actress Suzanne Somers when she left Three's Company. You know, I think both of them did a great job, and I'm a fan of both of them and their work that they did throughout their entire careers. So, without any further yammering, let's get going. I know that there are those out there who look at the first 3 seasons of Three's Company as the only ones worth watching. And I understand, I really do. First the Ropers leave for their own spin-off show, and then we had the whole Suzanne Somers contract negotiation messing things up. But you know what? I think there are just as many wonderful moments during the later seasons of the show, and a lot of that had to do with the new actors that were added in as the show progressed. And Jenilee Harrison, she was a big part of the ongoing success of that show. So let's talk a little bit about Jenilee. She joined Three's Company during season 5, playing Chrissy's cousin Cindy. Cindy was a cute but klutzy farm girl with enough similarities to Suzanne Somers' character that the writers didn't have to do much to the episodes that had been already written for the season. A few minor edits and voila, Chrissy's lines became Cindy's. Although Jenilee was a relative newcomer to TV audiences, she'd already been performing in front of huge crowds for a couple of years. You see, Jenilee was a Los Angeles Rams cheerleader. Yep, she was actually part of the very first squad of cheerleaders for the Rams, and that exposure led to her very first TV gig on Chips. And wouldn't you know it, on that TV show she played a cheerleader for the Los Angeles Rams. From there, Cindy started to find other opportunities, including a guest spot on a short-lived TV show starring Mark Harmon called 240 Robert. But it was the role of Cindy Snow that really thrust Jenilee into the limelight. I love this little snippet from a magazine article that seems to have been written by the ABC PR team themselves. As great as Jenilee was, I'm not sure that Three's Company viewers were really going to forget Chrissy Snow. That said, Jenilee was great. I really enjoyed the episodes that she appeared on during seasons 5 and 6. Truthfully, I never understood why the producers of the show decided to bring on Priscilla Barnes. I thought that the character of Cindy filled the void left by Summer's departure quite nicely. However, despite getting added to the opening title credits during season 6, that season turned out to be her last with the show, as the script centered more around Jack, Janet, and Terry. Moving on from Three's Company, Jenilee starred in Dallas, playing Jamie Ewing from 1984 to 1987. Her character had the honor of dying not once, but twice on that show, due to that crazy season that just turned out to be one of Bobby Ewing's dreams. And around this time, the mid-80s, it really seemed like Jenilee was everywhere. She was pitching Us Magazine in television ads, flexing her muscles for CBS on a couple of editions of Battle of the Network Stars. And heck, if you blinked, you missed it. But she even made a cameo in a Loverboy music video for their song Lovin' Every Minute of It. And she certainly made an impression on me in the James Garner movie Tank. I really loved that movie when it came out. Harrison was just part of a very talented cast in that movie, which also co-starred C. Thomas Howell and Mama Partridge herself, Shirley Jones. After making tons of guest appearances on television shows during the late 80s, the 90s didn't appear to be as fruitful for Jenilee. Sure, she made a handful of appearances in B-movies such as Illicit Behavior and Fists of Iron, but it would also seem that Jenilee started focusing on herself and her state of fitness, both body and mind. In 1993, she married Dr. Bruce Oppenheim, a prominent Los Angeles area chiropractor. Here he is pictured with one of his 2 children. And if the name sounds familiar, it's probably because the good doctor had been married before to another famous blonde. But let's get back to Jenilee. Her love of physical fitness allowed her to find opportunities on infomercials, and the one that I remember best was for the AbFlex, a low-cost exercise device that promised amazing results if one would just consistently use it. I've got to say that I must not have been consistent enough because my abdominal region, well, it's more of a keg than a six-pack. More recently, Jenilee has really embraced her Three's Company roots by appearing at various conventions and other events where fans can visit and get autographs. And along with Richard Klein, Joyce DeWitt, and Priscilla Barnes, she also participated in the Three's Company 40th Anniversary TV show. That reunion show has been uploaded to YouTube by Antenna TV and can be found on their channel. If you're a fan of Three's Company, you need to watch this show. Now, if you are a super fan of Three's Company, it would appear that Antenna TV has also sponsored a cruise where Jenilee and her co-star Richard Klein were along for the ride. I'm not sure if there are any more slated for the future, but I'm sure there were many opportunities during that cruise to meet and greet Jenilee and Richard, along with other stars from 70s television shows. So you might want to keep your eyes peeled if that sort of thing is of interest to you. Jenilee has also stayed in touch with her LA Rams roots. Here she is pictured with many of her original cheer sisters from that 1978 squad. So you know what? From everything that I can tell, although she may not have the same level of fame that she experienced 40 years ago, Jenilee's life seems to be exactly where you would hope it would be. She seems happy and comfortable with who she is right now, and she is able to fondly recollect and celebrate those cherished moments from years gone by. And regardless of what we've all done in this life, I'd say that's what we all hope for, right? As we all get a bit older and maybe just a tiny bit wiser, I think we all want to be able to look back and feel good about what we've accomplished over the years. Just like Jenilee.
And now, this message.
Three blonde mates.
Three blonde mates.
See how they change.
See how they change. Check and tell it, we're always there.
Nothing to rubbish who had blonde hair.
Who they were, they didn't care. As long as they were blonde.
Three blonde mates.
Three blonde mates.
See how they change.
See how they change.
The first one Cindy was Henry was slow.
Cindy was next, and she had to go.
Harry was him till the end of the show.
And they're all on Nick at night. Weeknight, back, starting at 11:10.
Folks, take a look into the eyes of Priscilla Barnes and you'll see the steady, even-keeled gaze of an entertainment industry survivor. A woman who, no matter what came her way, figured out how to emerge triumphant. So just what in the world am I talking about? After all, aren't we just talking about the actress who played smart and sexy nurse Terry Alden on Three's Company? Yeah, we are. But there is so much more to her story. After getting discovered by none other than Bob Hope, it didn't take Priscilla long to find her way to television and movies. I'm not going to mention everything that she's done, but I will talk about a few that really resonated with me. First, there was this version of the H.G. Wells classic, The Time Machine. To this day, I love movies about time travel, and this one, which was filmed in my home state of Utah, was a solid adaptation of the novel, despite a few liberties being taken. Around the same time, Priscilla starred with fellow Utahn Deborah Klinger in the short-lived CBS TV series, The American Girls. For whatever reason, growing up, I thought this show was called The All-American Girls. But as I review the information about this show that's readily available online, I can now see that I was very, very wrong. Either that or the Mandela effect strikes again. Either way, I think this thing ran for just a handful of episodes way back in 1978. And then there was this. From the director of Roots comes a vacation gone seriously awry. Along with Agent 99 and Marcia Brady, Barnes stars in this classic TV movie as a beautiful blonde who may be a whole lot smarter, savvier, dare I say a survivor than she originally seems. This thing is something of a cult classic and definitely worth tracking down if you haven't already seen it. I think it is some of Priscilla's best work from the early stages of her career. And then this happened. It was a gig that she definitely wanted. But once Priscilla got there, she was questioning her judgment. In fact, I've read that a few episodes into Three's Company, Priscilla requested to be released from her contract. Of course, the producers were having none of that. After all, right or wrong, they felt that they'd really been through the ringer with Suzanne Somers. Her contract renegotiations ultimately left her high and dry and without a TV series, and while Jenilee Harrison had been a suitable replacement, at least for a while, as Chrissy's cousin Cindy, the producers felt like Barnes' new character, sweet, smart, and sexy Nurse Alden, could bring a little more substance and heft to a comedy that was truly as lightweight as they come. By the way, this wasn't the first time that Barnes had played a nurse on television. In fact, after touring the world with Bob Hope, Barnes struck up a friendship with the late, great Peter Falk, which led to her being cast as a nurse in a 1975 episode of Columbo. Apparently, nursing was in this young lady's blood. Well, at least acting like a nurse was. Alright, let's get back to the early 80s. For 72 episodes, Barnes did her very best to deliver upon what the producers asked of her. Be Suzanne's replacement, but don't be Suzanne. They didn't want another Chrissy, hence the reason behind Jenilee Harrison's vanishing act as Cousin Cindy. Truthfully, what they really wanted was a return to the glory days of the show when the ratings were through the roof, and at least for a while, they got that. But they also got so much more from Priscilla. Like I said, at this point, she was already a survivor in the industry. She'd seen a lot, and she knew how to deal with it. Maybe her stardom on Three's Company was a little bittersweet, and maybe she did have some regret about being there, but you know what? She tucked that regret away and turned in phenomenal performances during those final seasons of the show. Unlike co-star and great friend of this very day, Joyce DeWitt, it's likely that Priscilla wasn't disappointed when the producers decided to take the show in a different direction and spin it off as Three's a Crowd. Nope, I'm quite sure she gave Ritter and DeWitt big hugs and began planning the next phase of her career, which included an appearance in the very last Timothy Dalton Bond flick, License to Kill. Things didn't work out all that well for her character in the movie, but what was clear to anyone who was watching Barnes' career was that she had successfully graduated from television to motion pictures. And since that time, Barnes has found steady work as a character actor in a wide range of movies like the Sean Penn-directed The Crossing Guard, co-starring with Jack Nicholson, Kevin Smith's quirky comedy Mallrats, and the Rob Zombie flick The Devil's Rejects. And there were many, many more. Way too many to mention here. It's been a great career for sure. Earlier I mentioned Barnes' friendship with Joyce DeWitt, but I believe that she is also fairly close friends with Richard Klein, the actor who played Larry as well. It was fun to see all three of them along with Jenilee Harrison on Antenna TV's recent Three's Company 40th anniversary reunion show. Despite a rough start and some initial reservations, it's clear that Priscilla more than just survived Three's Company. She thrived during her time on that show, and decades later, I'm glad she is still around to celebrate that show with her friends.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You know, all this talk about Priscilla Barnes reminds me of the 1982 ABC Network promo that they did at the beginning of their fall television season, and Priscilla has a pretty darn memorable part in it.
When you wanna be in great company, come on and join our family. Come on along to the place where you belong. Strike up the band, we're playing your song. There's new excitement coming on strong. Come on along to the place where you belong. Come on along with ABC. We're reaching out, it's you and me. Come on along with ABC. Come on along with ABC. We're reaching out, it's you and me. Come on along
This is a nice photo. Who wouldn't want a foot rub from Nurse Terry? I can't imagine many who would pass that up. Anyway, please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I would be honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.